Thank you, Mr. President. Members, SB 572 will do one very simple thing, and one very simple thing only. It would require that the governor, every May 22nd, declare Harvey Milk Day here in California. This is not a state holiday, does not afford state workers time off, does not cost the state of California one penny. It's otherwise known as a day of special significance. We have days of special significance for any number of historical characters, including John Muir. We have a day of special significance for the California poppy. We have a day of special significance for adoptive parents. This also requires and mandates absolutely nothing of any classroom or any school district, nothing whatsoever. What it does do is memorializes the hope that the life of Harvey Milk has represented to so many people these 30 years now since his assassination. And it seeks to educate Californians about a true American hero. And let me tell you why we believe Harvey Milk to be a true American hero. He served in public office and lived and died by his convictions that all men and women are created equal, that liberty and justice for all are not just words that we repeat at the beginning of every session, but a philosophy worth fighting for. As you know, he moved to San Francisco in 1972, and I just want to give you a little bit of historical context as to what the world looked like, or at least the state of California looked like in 1972. It gives you a sense of the kind of courage it took for an individual such as Harvey Milk to live his life honestly and be in public office. So, 1972 was the year before the American Psychiatric Association removed from its list of mental illnesses homosexuality. So to declare publicly of one's such sexual orientation was to say, put me on your list, I have a mental illness. It was also a time in California when consensual acts by adults of the same gender were illegal. So it was also to announce publicly that one was an outlaw. And of course, we didn't amend our Fair Employment and Housing Act until 1999, which now makes it illegal to discriminate against someone just for being who they are in employment and housing. So these are not small things. We've changed the world significantly, and much of it done here in this legislature. But in 1972, when Harvey Milk got to San Francisco, it was a very different day. This took enormous courage, and he literally gave his life in public office so that people like Senator Kehoe and I can be here today. And that's not an exaggeration. He received death threats regularly and actually left a recorded message of his own voice that said, if a bullet should ever enter my brain, let it shatter every closet door. And of course, that's exactly how he died, with a bullet to the brain at short range by a fellow colleague because of who Harvey Milk was. Now, I would suggest all of us here are greatly indebted to Harvey Milk because it was Harvey Milk who stood up to a state senator by the name of John Briggs, who had this amazing idea that we would fire every California teacher, K through university, if he or she were gay or lesbian. But John Briggs didn't stop there. If any teacher spoke in support of an openly gay or lesbian colleague, that person would be fired from the educational system of California as well. Harvey Milk stood up to John Briggs. Now, the polling showed that Prop 6, the Briggs Initiative, was going to pass by 65%. The Anita Bryants of the world were on a roll. They had had a success at the ballot in Florida, then another success in Kansas. Then they came to California, and this was the big prize. Polls showed that fervor was rising against anyone who dared to come out of the closet. But Harvey Milk stood up and debated John Briggs up and down the state of California, went into Orange County, went into very red parts of the state to debate John Briggs and to make his story real. It took enormous courage. If a bullet should ever enter my brain, let it shatter every closet door. And because of Harvey's courage, the tide began to turn. And soon, former Governor Ronald Reagan came out against Proposition 6, and Governor Jerry Brown came out against Proposition 6, and President Jimmy Carter spoke publicly against Prop 6. And it was soundly defeated. Imagine what would have happened to this state if John Briggs had had his way with us. We are indebted to Harvey Milk for that. So again, this costs the state nothing, but what does it cost us if we don't do this? How many more children need to be bullied or even killed in their own schools? There was an effeminate 14-year-old boy shot dead in his classroom by a fellow classmate just a year ago because students don't know what this is about, all these inner feelings and emotions and experience of their adolescent growth. When negative messages are put into their minds and there are no counter messages, crazy things happen, deadly things happen. So I think we take a great step forward. And as I said, a lot of the progress we've made has been made here under this dome. Issues that seemed very revolutionary, if not radical at the time, creating a domestic partner registry, affording same-sex couples hospital visitation rights, wildly debated on these floors. They seem rather quaint today. George W. Bush has wholly embraced domestic partnerships and civil unions. 70% of Californians support equal protection under the law for same-sex couples, whether you call them civil marriage, civil unions, domestic partnerships, or marriages, 70%. So here we are today, irrespective of party affiliation. I ask you to join me in voting aye on SB 572.